Alright, I'm back. This is part 3 of the Profile 3D plane. When I left off, I had cut out all the pieces. I told you I was going to go ahead and take it all back apart and do some painting. I'll just tell you real quick how I paint these things. When I had all my pieces apart, I had the KF airfoils off. I just painted the KF airfoils separate. And then I used blue painter's tape just to tape off the ailerons that I wanted blue. And then for the fuselage, I just painted that whole piece individually. Like I said, the whole plane was apart when I did the painting. Alright, so when we left off, I had all the pieces pretty much assembled. But I went ahead, did my painting, went ahead and assembled the pieces. I hot glued everywhere they connect. I even went ahead and hot glued the KF airfoils on. And then once you get your KF airfoils on, I go ahead and hit a hot glue bead right down each side. Pretty much anywhere all your pieces connect, you want to put your hot glue. Alright, and for the tail, I went ahead, once I slid my two pieces together for my fuselage, I went ahead and hot glued that spot that we cut, put that back together. And that was after I already installed my elevator. As you can see, I just used Scotch tape across both sides of the elevator. And then on the underside, I always just take and put a few pieces of Scotch tape long way. This is going to be a 3D plane, so I got to have a lot of movement on the elevator. And the same thing for the rudder. I just put one long piece of Scotch tape and then put 4 or 5 connecting pieces. We got a lot of movement in that rudder. Then for the ailerons, I just went ahead and hit them with a piece of Scotch tape right across them. I didn't even bother with the bottoms. You don't have to install no Scotch tape down there. But again, make sure you guys hot glue everywhere your pieces connect. Like I just ran a bead down both ends of the wings, all across the front. I already installed my motor. I brushed this motor and prop here. Just went ahead and cut out. Now for you guys, I didn't put it on the plans because I figured whatever motor you use, you can just cut it out to your size. And I just drop it back in there about a 1/2 inch. As you can see, the tail's got a lot of movement. My elevator and my rudder. Then our ailerons. What's up, Ticker? So I'm going to go ahead and install this aileron servo right now. What I'll do is I just take the easiest way to do this, I find, is I'm using the one servo in the center of the wing. After I build pretty much the whole plane like this, you got to get this servo down in here. The best way to do it is I'll just take and cut a piece out of the top here. And make sure to cut at an angle, so when I hot glue it back on, it just sits in there like a pie slice. Just like that. That way I can just hot glue this thing right back in there real easy. Trim this up a little. So I'll just use hot glue and reapply it right there. And the hot glue will actually make that whole piece a lot stronger anyway. I mean, it's never going to break apart in that area. Alright, I got my electronics here. I got a little 6-channel Lemon RX receiver. You just go to lemonrc.com. lemonrx.com, I believe it is. Little 6-channel. Things are awesome. They're only like maybe $7 a pay for that thing. And again, I got my 9-gram servos that came with my brushless combo. Alright, here I got my aileron servo already hooked up and ready to go. I'll go ahead and drop the wire down through here. I'm just going to hook up the aileron servo and show you how I go about. There, I push my servo down in there real nice. Fit perfect. But I'm just going to hook up the aileron servo with the rods, carbon fiber rod, push rods basically, and then install my little hinges here. Alright, so the best way to do this, I just pop that sucker up a little bit. So you can hit some hot glue on both sides. And push it back down. I don't use a ton of hot glue because it sits in there pretty good. That way, when I pull this plane apart and make something else, you know, once you crash, you can just pull your servo right out and pull that hot glue right off the servo. Alright. And you see our little piece of pie gonna go back on there. Just gonna trim back a little bit. Just like that. I'll go ahead and do that right now. Don't need a ton of hot glue there. And wipe away any excess glue. And there it is, you guys. Alright, so I got my aileron servo installed. Let's go ahead and hook up this receiver. The battery I'll be using is this little 1300 milliamp, 11.1 volt This is a 25C discharge. You can get this from like hobbyparts.com. Or I might bump it up to this battery here, which is another 3-cell. I believe it's a 2200. And it might be 25 to 30C. I'll see which one works best. I just want to hook up this battery real quick, see what we got. I think I have my I'm not binding. And look at my ESC. There we go. I see what I got going on. Bear with me, guys. Doing this by memory. Let's see what we get with this. There we go. I don't have it written down on here where these plugs go. I just try to remember. Alright, there. So there we got our aileron servo all installed. It's all centered. Alright. Now when you install these, you know, the further you move them, if you put it over the hinge line, you're not going to get a whole lot of movement. So the further you pull them back on your wing or on your aileron, the more movement you'll get out of your aileron. I'll show you what I mean when I go to put them on here. So if you have it up over your hinge line, you'll get less movement. The further you drop them back on the aileron, the more movement you'll get. And we're going to want quite a bit of movement because it is a 3D plane. And I'll take and install all this in the video. Hopefully I got enough time. And another thing, when you get done gluing all your pieces together and you install your elevator, your rudder, and you're pretty much all wrapped up, I always go back and hit everything with some Scotch clear tape. And then here I got some Easy Start packing tape. And I like to hit all the pieces you can, you know. Just try to cover a lot of it in clear tape. Like I'll use packing tape to fold over both sides of the front of leading edge of the wing. Run some packing tape there. Run some Scotch tape down the length of the fuselage on all sides. And it makes it super strong then. So this plane will never crack apart, you know, I mean, unless you come in for a hard crash. So make sure you guys go ahead and clear tape wherever you think you want to strengthen up the foam board. And like I said, I like to do it on all the edges here, across the wing. Now I didn't use no carbon fiber rod. This plane is designed where, with the KF airfoil on here and how it runs through and rests on the fuselage, there's no need for it. I mean, this wing is super strong, so I don't even bother putting in the carbon fiber rod. I mean, you guys could always put a piece in there. I mean, before you apply probably your KF airfoils, leave those off, install a piece of carbon fiber rod through there, maybe something like that. Then you could go ahead and apply your KF airfoils back over the carbon fiber rod so you bury it. Alright, let's get on to hooking up. So here I got some little clevises. I believe that's what they call them. I believe these are control horns. You can also get these kind. These are Dubrow control horns, just for park flyer jets and planes. Alright, so here I got a piece of carbon fiber rod I'm going to be using to hook up my ailerons with. Another thing I'll tell you is I didn't install on the plans. I don't mark where to install your servos. You just can put them where you choose. I mean, you could have them far back, up here. All you do is you line it up with the body, go ahead and mark around it, cut out the foam board, and then push this right down in there. And as you can see, I got my elevator right here. And then I'll use, on the opposite side of this one, is my rudder, which will go on this side of the plane. And I'll do the same thing with that. So like I said, I didn't mark it on the plans because some guys like to install them further back. I mean, the more tail heavy you make a 3D plane, the better it's going to hover. What I'll end up doing is I'll put mine somewhere around the center of the tail boom here. But you can put yours where you want. And to get the CG on your plane, I mean, you just move your battery. You know, the battery's going to be installed under here on this side. And for your CG, you can just move the sucker wherever you want. Alright, let's go ahead and install a couple of these control rods. Here I got my carbon fiber rod. I'm going to need a cutting tool. Alright, for these control rods, I won't even glue these on first. I'm going to do some test fitting before I do any hot gluing around the end here. And I never put hot glue all the way up inside because I might take these off at some point, build another plane. For now, I'll just eyeball them up, see what kind of piece I'm going to need here. I'll most likely just install one of these for you. What I'll do is get it up on there. I got these from my local hobby shop. They're pretty awesome. You can see they got a little lock piece down here. Matter of fact, I'm going to put the lock up facing upward. I'm knocking it off there. Oops. Anyway, I'll put the little lock on there after I'm done. Alright, so I got my control rod and my clevis hooked onto my servo arm here. Now for my control horn, I like to put them at a little angle. I'm going to drop it back probably almost a ½ inch from the leading edge of the aileron here. I'm just going to eyeball it up here. Alright, and here I got another. Pop this off. I'll get my little lock back on there. These things can be a little hassle to get on and off. Just gotta work with it. Oh, it popped off again. Alright, but anyway. Alright, so here I got my little clevis. I'm gonna install this on here. What I like to do usually is take a little piece of blue tape. I like using blue tape on foam board because it doesn't tend to peel the paper off. I'll tape my aileron nice and secure. I'm going to take and mark where I need this. I'm going to cut my carbon fiber rod back a little. Take and mark it. Go ahead and take it back a little further. And I'm going to use my Dremel to cut this. It's always best to cut carbon fiber rod with a Dremel. So you get a nice clean cut. Round that sucker off a little. Got that one locked on. Pull this blue painter's tape off. I want to see how much throw I'm getting. Which that looks like it's going to be plenty. So that's where I'm going to want to hot glue my control horn on. I like to get a lot of hot glue on this. Just make sure you keep your aileron straight with the body here. Nice and flush. Let that set up for a second. I like these little control linkages, and using carbon fiber rod, it's really lightweight. I want a nice light 3D plane. Honestly guys, I don't even know how to fly 3D yet. But I'm damn sure going to try to learn with this one. Alright, so there you go. We got a lot of throw. That turned out sweet. Go ahead and lock this sucker up. And try to move over to the other side. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and throw these servos on for you. Alright, so that's how you hook up your linkage for your ailerons. It's pretty simple. And like I said, the further back you put your control horn, the more movement you'll get on your ailerons. So I set it back about a ½ inch from the hinge line here, from the pivot point. Alright, now I'll show you what I was talking about installing these. Alright, here I got my elevator servo. I'm going to be placing these about halfway back on my boom here, on the tail boom. I'll just simply mark it out with a pen. I want this plane to be good and tail heavy. Now I'll take and cut out for the servo. And drop my wire down through here. So there I got my elevator servo, and I'll hook up the same kind of control system here that I got here, back here. I'll simply install a control horn back here with another carbon fiber rod. With the clevises on both ends of the carbon fiber rod. I'm going to go ahead and drop my rudder servo on here. Like I said, I just line it up with the opposite side of the other one. I just went ahead and hit them with a piece of Scotch tape right across them. I didn't even bother with the bottoms. You don't have to install no Scotch tape down there. But again, make sure you guys hot glue everywhere your pieces connect. Like I just ran a bead down both ends of the wings, all across the front. I already installed my motor. I brushed this motor and prop here. I just went ahead and cut out. Now for you guys, I didn't put it on the plans because I figured whatever motor you use, you can just cut it out to your size. And I just drop it back in there about a 1/2 inch. As you can see the part when I did the painting. Alright, so when we left off, I had all the pieces pretty much assembled. But I went ahead, did my painting, went ahead and assembled the pieces. I hot glued everywhere they connect. I even went ahead and hot glued the KF airfoils on. And then once you get your KF airfoils on, I go ahead. I always just take and put a few pieces of Scotch tape long way. This is going to be a 3D plane, so I got to have a lot of movement on the elevator. And the same thing for the rudder. I just put one long piece of Scotch tape and then put 4 or 5 connecting pieces. We got a lot of movement in that rudder. Then for the aileron, yeah, alright, I'm back. This is part 3 of the Profile 3D plane. When I left off, I had cut out all the pieces. I told you I was going to go ahead and take it all back apart and do some painting. I'll just tell you real quick how I paint these things. When I had all my pieces apart, I had the KF airfoils off. I just painted the KF airfoils separate. And then I used blue painter's tape just to tape off the ailerons that I wanted blue. And then for the fuselage, I just painted that whole piece individually. Like I said, the whole plane was apart, and hit a hot glue bead right down each side. Pretty much anywhere all your pieces connect, you want to put your hot glue. Alright, and for the tail, I went ahead, once I slid my 2 pieces together for my fuselage, I went ahead and hot glued that spot that we cut, put that back together, and that was after I already installed my elevator. As you can see, I just used Scotch tape across both sides of the elevator. And then on the underside,